Coming up this week on the center of it all. The holiday season is fast approaching, and we aren't the only ones getting prepared. We show you how one Christmas tree farm is getting ready for December, show you a little Altoona history, and our pet of the show this week is still looking for a forever home. Don't go anywhere, it's all coming up next right here on the center of it all. Welcome to the center of it all. We all know about tree farms during the holiday season, but what about all the other months of the year? We talked to one farm to see how they prepare for the busy season.
Trees are his first love. He would have loved to climb trees all his life, but he found another way to play with trees all his life.
They planted their first crop of trees in 1970 and have been planting ever since. Tannenbaum Farm in Center Hall stands at 140 acres and is filled with 5 different types of trees. They've come a long way since planting that first crop, and they say they have the repeated support of the community and family to thank.
The neighbors who were our neighbors and helped loan us tractors are now loaning us their grandchildren to help.
And a lot of their workers have been with them for many, many years. They come to the farm to help as children and stay well into adulthood.
We have 2 men here approaching 60 who started with us when they were 19. They were students at Penn State. They've been with us every year since.
That local support is what helps keep this Christmas tree farm a joyous and positive one, not just during the holiday season, but year-round as well. And they told us for them there is no off-season. Their work is year-round.
You prepare the land for the planting of the trees. You plant the trees, you fertilize the trees. Unfortunately, the Fraser fir, like to develop cones, can become so compacted that you don't even see the needles on the top of the tree anymore.
We wanted to know, how do they get those perfect looking trees year after year that we are all so used to seeing in Christmas tree farms? And it's a long process, starting from the first moment the seed is put into the ground up until the last steps, which is giving the tree its classic shape.
And the first stage of shaping them is to make the top the right height, and then we shape the next lateral branches, and then another group comes along, sometimes with machines, or nowadays with machines, but it used to be with hand shears, and clips the sides to make them look, they don't grow like you see them in the field.
Then the second part of the process is like a grading scale.
You have to decide which trees are for sale, so you have to walk through the fields, put ribbons on ones that we think are premium, ribbons on ones that we think are number 1. A premium tree is what we think is a perfect tree, and number 1 is the next grade. They're graded by USDA standards.
Those USDA standards are broken down into 3 different categories with different criteria for each. The 3 categories start with first US Premium, which is your perfect tree. Then it's US number 1, your one step below perfect. And finally, US number 2. And we had to know what their most popular trees seem to be. They said the Fraser fir. But what about the trees that don't meet the USDA regulations? What happens to them? They put them to good use as well by going around the farm and collecting greens from the ground and those trees, bringing them back to the farm and using them to make their holiday wreaths. Though it is a busy time of year, these farm owners wouldn't have it any other way.
This is what I love when the people come. I love working with the young people too. I just enjoy having happy people around and a happy time of year. Craig and I say we are the place, we aren't. The community's place, friends of the place, our animals are the place, our family. We've had a lot of family support along the way.
And if they do have any trees left over on the farm at the end of the year, they donate them to needy families in the Center County area. And there isn't anything wrong with having an artificial tree this holiday season. It's all about the tradition and just spending time together during this joyous time of year. There is a place and a reason for both. The best reason for the cut your own Christmas tree, buying a Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree on a lot, are more fresh. They come from more local spots. They're generally more full, more developed.
It's the family tradition of being able to go out and do it together. It's just a good time for a lot of people, and it's a meaningful time for many of those people as well.
For more information, visit Tannenbaum's Facebook page. When we come back, we jump on a train and head out to Altoona. Welcome back. The railroads played a big role in the history of Altoona. We head out to the tracks to find out a little more about the town.
Without the railroad, there would be no Altoona. Starting in the late 50s and the 60s, there's always been a movement here in town to let's save as much as we can of the heritage of the railroad workers, of the town. That was the greatest railroad town in the world at one time. The reason Altoona was here was because of the railroad, and that's what this museum celebrates, the life and times of railroad workers, the whole culture of being a railroad town. This represents a way of life that has just about disappeared from the world, disappeared from the country. We've tried to capture that here so you could step back and appreciate what it took 50, 60, 70 years ago for transportation, for railroading, and to work in the shops and work on the railroad. It's an era that has long gone, and it's an experience that people need to see, to realize, to appreciate what their fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers did and how they worked and lived in making this country great. Altoona was the heart and soul of the Pennsylvania Railroad. If you want to come and see the railroaders' experience, the shop workers' experience, the gritty blue-collar sweat and hard work that it took to run a railroad, to build things, you know, from scratch, from steel, through furnaces, through shops and things like that. This is the museum to come to.
We hit it off and meshed quickly, you know, because we have the same food philosophy, you know, which is local sourcing, you know, good ingredients, educating people about food.
And when it comes to food, Blick has been educating and cooking for 25 years. Blick grew up with good meals and recipes thanks to his mom and grandmother, and that warm Southern-style family cooking is something he incorporates into his own cooking style today. But he says the food industry has changed since then.
Food industry over the past 50, 60 years, it's become very disconnected from it. You know, we don't know where pork chops come from. You know, we don't know who grows them.
But that is something that Blick hopes to change this season at the Elk Creek Cafe, having the farm-to-table concept be a more dominant element in the menu. Farm-to-table concept is a movement that promotes serving local food to restaurants coming from local food producers. Blick says that right now, pretty much everything Elk Creek Cafe uses in their dishes comes from within a half-hour radius.
The challenge is, how do we do this more? You know, how do we do this farm-to-table thing, sustainable thing, feed people and give them an experience that is, you know, in the truest sense of the word, almost romantic. You know, it's, you know, feeding people is really intimate. Part of it is just developing relationship with the farmer and explaining to the farmer what you're after. You know, because they grow vast quantities and sell bulk, so we want smaller quantities. You know, it's just a relearning for everyone.
Along with relearning, they plan on organizing and updating the dishes they do already have on the menu that are loved by so many people in the community. Blick says he doesn't want to take away from the menu, but add and broaden it instead.
I've walked into a kitchen of like absolute awesome, you know, technical cooks. You know, so a lot of times what I bring is just simply ideas, and they're from, you know, practice and failure, you know, quite often. So we're just moving in that direction more, you know, and we're gonna change up some of the food so it's not all bar or oriented, and you know, see if we can feed more people.
And the people in Millheim and the surrounding areas seem to be responding well to his new ideas.
I believe they're into it. I mean, when I came here before it was open, and even, you know, now that I am here, it's pretty hopping. I mean, they're surrounded by farms. How can it not, after a certain amount of time, make sense? You know, it's like I don't have to worry about what chemicals are in my, poultry or whatever, because I know that guy, I can see it, and that's a pretty neat advantage.
Blick says the major push behind the farm-to-table movement isn't just about the good local food. It's also about educating people on where their food comes from, what's in it, and what's not in it. And though that will increase the price, it's a small amount to pay for a cleaner meal.
Sitting at the plate, it costs more because you're paying for more. You're paying for a known source. You're paying for no antibiotics, no hormones. You're paying for humane treatment of animals. You're paying for craftsmen, but the point is the quality goes up exponentially.
Elk Creek Cafe recently held an event to officially introduce Blick as the new head chef and the new ideas he has to offer to this small but popular cafe. And he says this is just the beginning.
Went well. I was in the kitchen. We didn't hear too many complaints, so that was good. We want to get to the point where anything we make at all, people will eat because they trust us completely.
When we come back, Mel is whipping up a little something to get us into the holiday spirit. Welcome back to the center of it all. Now, preparing the main dish for a meal isn't too stressful, but what about the sides and appetizers? This week, Mel is here to help.
Good morning. It's time for my annual Take the Stress Out of the Holiday Season segment on WHVL-TV. Over the years, I've made cheese balls, dips, and spreads, and I've shared more than a few yummy recipes for shrimp, crab meat, and filet mignon too. Today, I've chosen 2 appetizers from my family-friendly archives: boursin stuffed mushrooms and sweet or spicy crab balls. Boursin. It's in my refrigerator all the time. This smooth, spreadable cow's milk cheese has a creamy texture and a really tangy flavor which pairs well with wine and cocktails. And I'm going to use it today to go into the filling for my mushroom caps. And I've taken the stems out of 24 1.5 to 2-inch caps and put them in my food processor with 1/2 of a large diced onion. And I'm going to process this, pulse it, about 10 to 15 times to get it into nice small bits and pieces. And now we're going to move over to the stove to saute the mushroom and onion mixture, and then we'll be right back to stuff our caps. In a 10-inch skillet, I've melted 4 tablespoons of salted butter, and I'm going to stir in a teaspoon of garlic powder and 2 tablespoons of parsley flakes to season the butter. And I'm going to add all of my pulsed mushroom and onion mixture to the skillet. Get every last little bit of it in there. And I'll be stirring this frequently for 5 or 6 minutes until the mushrooms are all cooked through and the onions are soft and translucent. It's been 6 minutes, everything is cooked through beautifully, and now I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of plain dry breadcrumbs. Thoroughly stir those in. I'm going to lower my heat and stir in my garlic and herb flavored boursin. After this rich, creamy mushroom filling cools for about 5 minutes, it'll be time to stuff our mushroom caps. My filling's cooled about 5 minutes, and I'm using a 1.5-inch ice cream scoop as a measure. That's about 1.5 tablespoons of filling. And I'm just going to dollop a nice generous scoop of mushroom and boursin filling onto and into every mushroom cap. I have about 8 ounces of Gruyere cheese here. I'm only going to need about 4 of it, but I'm going to use the rest for something else tomorrow morning, for some omelets. And right now I'm just going to top all of these mushrooms. They're all topped with cheese, and I'm just going to set these aside for about 10 minutes while I wash my hands, and then we're going to make the sausage balls. On a scale of 1 to 10, these sweet or spicy sausage balls might be a 1, but they're a mighty 1. 4 ingredients, 1 bowl, no slicing, dicing, or chopping, and everyone loves them. I've got 12 ounces of sweet sausage in a bowl today. You can use spicy or hot sausage if you want them spicy. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of cheddar cheese, 2 tablespoons of extremely soft salted butter, and about 1/2 cup of flour. Make sure your jewelry's off, put your hands in it, and mix this all together. It's as easy as that. Now excuse me while I wash my hands, and when I get back, we'll make our sausage balls. Using the same 1.5-inch ice cream scoop that I used to fill my mushroom caps, I'm just going to make little sausage balls. Place them on a parchment-lined baking pan. And this is pretty easy to do. It's pretty clean too. I've got 24 mushroom caps and 1 shy of 24 sausage balls. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. I'm going to put these on the center rack for about 20 to 22 minutes, and 10 minutes into their cooking, I'm going to add my mushroom caps right next to them, and they're going to cook for about 14 to 16 minutes. Finger foods are a must for a cocktail party, and appetizers are an integral part to any sit-down dinner. That said, during the holiday season, every cook appreciates some really good, low-key, stress-free recipes for them. From my low-key, stress-free kitchen to yours, happy holidays.
Food is always one of my favorite parts of this entire holiday season. When we come back, we introduce you to our pet of the show. Welcome back. Are you thinking about adding a new addition to your home during these next few months? Nittany Beagle Rescue has our pet of the show this week and could have just who you are looking for.
Thanks, Alicia. I'm here with Bindi Sue. We just call her Bindi for short. She's a 2-year-old female. She's pretty high energy, but she's a 2-year-old, so she's still very playful. She's still got that 2-year-old energy, so she'll definitely calm down as she gets older. She's a pretty small beagle. She's only about 20 pounds. She has really big, floppy, soft ears, and she's very sweet. She likes to hug and she likes to cuddle, but she also likes to play a lot. So we're hoping to find her a home with someone that can handle a pretty high energy dog. She's either a fence or someone who could walk her a lot and maybe run with her would be really good. She's good with kids, she's good with other dogs, she really loves people, and she likes to play fetch and play with the frisbee and stuff, so someone that could really take the time and play with her a lot would be really good.
That wraps up this week's Center of It All. Thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of this chilly November, and I'll see you next time.